Integrity, people define it as, what you do when no one is actually looking. And really, it's the quality of being honest and having strong moral values. And I believe that as Kenyans, really, we do not value that because we have been, characterized by the fact that we are brought together to form a state, but not a nation. And we look at the state as an opportunity to steal and to plunder and to pilfer in the same way our colonialists also did in terms of how they created Kenya. And so therefore, those who are hailed and exalted in public service are those who seem to have gotten the most out of the state. In fact, recently, when the cabinet secretaries were being vetted, you would actually see they were not necessarily the most poor. And the association is largely because they have been able to work for government for many years, not private sector. So that tells you really the people you look up to, even when you look at those who come to look for political positions. And I've been in parliament for 10 years, are former MDs, of corporations, people, bankers, or whatever, those kind of people. They are the ones who can easily line up, the electorate, hired, crowds, and eventually they end up winning at the ballot. And we do not have a very good threshold. In fact, the best way to lose an election is to have high integrity. Not that which is pronounced publicly, but that which is done privately. People seem to say, what did you do for yourself? So integrity in Kenya really is a foreign concept. And it has not even helped to have chapter 6, a whole chapter of the Constitution, as to assuade people to live up to the expectations that when they have integrity, they stand a higher chance of leading this country or actually leading prosperous lives. When I was coming to this place tonight, I was surprised at how people are driving on the streets and on the roads of this country. And we, at some point, all met at the roundabout, not wanting to give way to one another. And that really depicts the kind of thinking that we have. People who lack morals, people who do not follow due process, people who think that indeed it is he who gets first that actually is right, that might is right. And that has become a very serious, underpinning of our society. And it has made me to reflect, even when it comes to issues of integrity, we seem to have developed a system that encourages impunity. When you see a policeman, being given the license by a matatu, driver, it's not necessarily to check whether it is valid. Some money will be in there to let the person go. I have, as a Mheshimiwa, always joked that because I just need to say I'm Mheshimiwa at the gate, I could as well be a suicide bomber and I will be allowed. The issue of the big man and the suffering of the small person in society clearly shows that we value raw power. And it's not just a question of us imagining about ourselves. We have actually been ranked very lowly by Transparency International, for example. We, way back in 1995, we ranked as number 52 globally. But if you look at 2021 corruption index, we are 128. And we on average, we range from 25 to 30% on their score from 0 to 100. That tells you really we are among the most corrupt countries in the world. Actually, at some point, we were ranked as number 4 in 2013. So yes, it is true. And you can see even the way companies have taken off in this country. The cost of doing business has become very, very high. And the fact that people who seem to enjoy the proceeds of corruption, they survive. That tells you really, Kenya is about he who knows who, where, and how. And that if you're honest and straightforward, you suffer public ridicule. And that has really demonstrated, if you look at our budget, for example, you can actually argue that our sovereign debt is equal to the political leadership of our country. And it is also, you can see it even, amongst the people. It is easy, if you are seen to have cheated somebody out of, their inheritance, you have land cases here, property issues, then you are the right kind of person. So I think, honestly and sincerely, I would have wanted a better Kenya. And there's no convergence between what we are taught at Sunday school on what we are supposed to be and what is practiced out there. In fact, many Kenyans feel cheated because the values that they grow up believing in are negated by the reality of life. And we have actually to apologize to our young people, because that contradiction is very disillusioning. It's very disempowering to those who would want a better Kenya. But I know there are those who keep on fighting for it. But the truth of the matter is, there's a huge avalanche of individuals who, rear their force and sheer force of might to ensure that integrity is not part and parcel of our society. I want to submit that indeed there are so many facets of life in this country that people see integrity as a stumbling block. In fact, when you are seen to be integral, when you are seen to be one, when you are seen to be holistic, when you are not two-faced, when you are not double-sided, you are likely to be sidestepped. Look at our whistleblowers. People like David Munyake, they had to die, and many others I may not be able to mention, simply because they were able to expose issues of corruption. And political corruption is mother of all corruption, because the way in which we choose our leaders is not necessarily out of the fact that they are the people who have excelled in society, people who actually have the best interest of the country. And we are not talking about lip service. You need to know the kind of a person by looking at their history. And this affects every other place, because a political leadership is a reflection of our societal leadership.